Welcome to Geek on Film with your host, Robbie Holmes. Hello and welcome to episode 14 of season 2 of Geek on Film. This week, our main review is going to be of The Idea of You, but there'll be 3 films that I watched before that, and then a conclusion of a second season of an animated show I haven't been watching. So let's jump into coming out of last week's Civil War. I had never seen Men. So Men is, according to our friends over at IMDb, a young woman goes on a solo vacation to an English countryside following the death of her ex-husband. This film is written and directed by Alex Garland. There's a very limited cast here. You've got Jessie Buckley playing Harper and Rory Kinnear playing almost everybody else. There's a couple other people in it, but that's sort of the big conceit of this movie. So we watch Jessie Buckley's Harper throughout flashbacks through the movie be in an abusive relationship, and her husband, she finally has had enough, and she says that she wants him out, and he either goes to the patio of the apartment above hers and is trying to climb down to her apartment, or jumps to his death. Sort of up to you to decide the final outcome of this. But in the process, we see him fall past the window. Her husband is James, who's played by Papa Essadou. And we see the destruction of his body at the bottom. Harper goes and sees that before we see all this in flashback throughout the movie. But there's all this. So she goes to this town. She's introduced by this, like, the groundskeeper to this beautiful home that's in this countryside, and then she doesn't appear to recognize that every other person that she meets is some version of Rory Kinnear, and that is weird to us. But I think if it was obvious that Rory Kinnear was what she was seeing, we would have gotten there a lot sooner. And it feels an awful lot like it's an allegory instead of a film. I do love how much Alex Garland is willing to push the medium and also push us to try to decide what we get out of a film, just like he's done with other films he's made, including Civil War. And I'm a sucker for Jessie Buckley. I'm all in. This is a movie I walked away from, and I'm still not 100% sure how I feel about it, and it's been a while. It's not one I can easily say you should see or you shouldn't see. It's one that if you are into complicated storytelling and you don't want things spoon-fed to you, this might be a movie for you. Yeah, it's on Max. That's where I watched it. So that's it for Men. Next up for me was Popstar Never Stop Stopping. Never Stop, Never Stopping. This is a movie I've never seen, which I think is ironic and amusing because I just love goofy movies. So our friends at IMDb say that when it becomes clear that his solo album is a failure, a former boy band member does everything in his power to maintain his celebrity status. So this is written by Andy Samberg, Akiva Schaffer, and Jorma Taccone, and it's directed by Akiva Schaffer and Jorma Taccone. So this movie is really silly and fun. I laughed a lot. So Andy Samberg plays Connor, who's the boy band member who went out on his own and has his solo career. He is with he continues to stay with one of his colleagues. I believe it's Owen. Jorma Taccone is his DJ and eventually does all kinds of wacky stuff to him, making him basically wear a bucket on his head. He can't see anything. And Akiva Schaffer plays Lawrence. Sarah Silverman plays Paula, his PR person, and Tim Meadows plays Harry, who's who was originally, I think, the band's manager, and then eventually Connor's manager, and then he goes off to another. The story's fun. If you like silly movies that parody, lovingly parody boy bands, this movie is made in a lab for you to watch. My take on this film, that I'm so glad I got to see this with my wife. It's the kind of movie where she just rolls her eyes and I laughed a lot. And it was a good experience. I think you should go give it a chance. I don't know how I never saw this movie. It's on Hulu right now and definitely worth your time. Next up was, apparently I was in a little bit of a challenging mood this week. I went and watched Personal Shopper. So, personal shopper is, according to our friends at IMDb, a personal shopper in Paris refuses to leave the city until she makes contact with her twin brother, who previously died there. Her life is more complicated when a mysterious person contacts her via text messages. This is a movie I wanted to watch because I felt like I haven't seen enough of Kristen Stewart's film backlog and her discography, and I felt like this is one that I wanted to check out. It's on Criterion Channel. It is written and directed by Oliver Assayas. I definitely have not experienced films by this person before, so I was open on all counts. I was excited to see what a film by this person and with Kristen Stewart was. This movie takes place most of the scenes are heavily revolving around Kristen Stewart. She is a personal shopper for a celebrity. That celebrity is really impressive in keeping her personal shopper at discomfort and at arm's length constantly, even though she's doing a good job. Kristen Stewart is constantly chasing what she needs and getting everything she needs for her trips, for her modeling components, for all these things. And I was really impressed with the amount of poise that Kristen Stewart has in a scene by herself. So many scenes in this movie where it's either her and trying to hear something from the other side, or just her living in the moment in her own world. And I think that's the thing I was so impressed with, is she's so comfortable being just of the moment and where she's at. I didn't really love this movie. I think my big takeaway was it didn't feel like, to me, it was fleshed out enough for me to enjoy. Kristen Stewart is always mesmerizing to watch. There's a lot of storylines that feel like rabbit holes and tangents. Not sure what the final takeaway is for the viewer. So this movie felt like it had an awful lot of side stories and tangents that didn't come together for me in the end. I'm not really sure exactly what the director and writer was trying to get out of us. So it's obvious that it is the vision of the writer, because that writer went on to direct this. So it meant something, and the way this was shot and created is to the vision of the writer. I just don't know exactly what the final outcome I'm supposed to, as an audience member, walk away with. Personal Shopper is currently on Hulu and on the Criterion Channel. So let's jump over to some animation. Invincible season 2, the second half of the season dropped, and if you are not aware of Invincible, you're missing out. It is one of the comics that I fell in love with. It was an Image comic created by Robert Kirkman, and these episodes are phenomenal. I love this cartoon anyway, and I think what it's doing here is really astounding. I'm really impressed with everything they pull off. I love the little subtle jabs at the audience for not being okay with how long things take. It was very funny to me. So I've decided we're not going to do a blow by blow of what's going on in any show that has this many episodes. The reality here is Invincible is picking up from where we found him at the end of the middle of the season, where he was brutally destroyed. His father was taken by the Viltrumites, and that he was left on the planet with his brother Oliver and the race that he was a part of. He takes him back to Earth after they ask him to. Stepmother asks him to, and eventually Debbie ends up taking care of Oliver. And the Guardians have these split sequences going on, where one group, including Invincible, goes to take care of the Sequids, which are the beings from Mars that can take over a human and control them. They're like a hive mind. And then the other is this crazy sequence with the Lizard League, where Rex and Kate and Ray go and get destroyed. They're like, it looks like Kate is dead. It looks like Ray is dead, and Rex has been shot through the head. It's a pretty crazy sequence. You see a little bit of Mark dealing with his girlfriend Amber and how he hasn't been there for her, and how complicated it is being truly both a hero and and trying to have relationships. And then we see Mark and Alan meet up and have a conversation, and it cuts to Alan eventually getting collected up by the Viltrumites, and they take him to space. They take him to a jail, but he's a lot stronger than he used to be. And then we see Nolan in a Viltrumite asteroid prison, and Alan the alien is now there. And yeah, ends with us seeing our first quick glance of Angstrom at the end of that episode. So forebodingly brings him to the table. The penultimate episode, you have a Viltrumite come to planet Earth and threaten Amber and basically beat Mark within an inch of his life, telling him that it's his job to get this planet ready for the Viltrumites. The same thing his father told him initially, the same thing he's told and been told before. This one actually involved Amber, and that is when him and Amber finally break up. And it's a sad state of affairs, but I'm not that surprised given how Mark's life is going. Then we end up in the final episode of season 2, and Angstrom Levy gets back to the planet where Mark is. And if you haven't been exposed to Angstrom Levy before, he is a person who can open portals between the multiple universes, and he has them all mapped. And during a season 1 failure, when Mark was trying to save him, Angstrom blames Mark for why he is deformed and destroyed. And it's an amazingly powerful season finale. You've got Angstrom Levy opening these portals and sending Mark through them. Mark has no idea how long he's been in all these places. Eventually, he, after threatening both Oliver, his brother, and his mother, he eventually breaks her arm. So he breaks Debbie's arm. And we end up with Mark, after many failed attempts, getting Angstrom Levy to land on a planet with him. He pushes him through a portal, and Angstrom tells him he's stronger. Not only did he get made to not be in pain, but he also made him physically stronger. And the title of the episode is "I Thought You Were Stronger," and we end up with Mark just pummeling Angstrom into a puddle. And it's a brutal sequence, and we see sort of a little bit of the snap that we've been seeing from time to time in Mark. It's a really great episode. What's really cool is Mark is there after the fact, and he's walking, and a portal eventually opens, and it's the Guardians of the Globe, and they open a portal for him. They tell him it's been 20 years since they lost him, and it took them that long to find him, even though they had multiple time travel devices. And there's a great line where Mark says, I don't know if I would have survived. And you hear at the time, it appears as though it's Robot, and I think it's actually Rex in the helmet saying, you wouldn't have liked the person you became. And you get Eve asking him to be honest with her in the old days. She always was in love with him and just needs to be let free. It was pretty crazy. It was a great episode, great ending. Watching Mark crumple into his mother after she's had her arm fixed, and just want to weep and be a child and not have to think about this and not have to face the world and who he's become is really impressive. Stephen Young deserves all the credit, in my opinion, for what he is doing in this episode and across this entire season. Sandra Oh is fantastic. You've got so many great voice actors here. J.K. Simmons, anytime Nolan's around, it's such a great experience. You've got Seth Rogen as Alan the Alien. It's just fantastic. It's so much fun. And not to walk past any of these others, you've got Clancy Brown as General Krieg. You've got Angstrom's voiced by Sterling K. Brown. It's just like a murderer's row of voice talent. So much fun. And you should definitely watch it, especially if you don't care about messed up television shows. It's really messed up. Okay, that's everything I watched before the main review, which is the idea of you. Our friends at IMDb say it is Solange, a 40-year-old single mom, begins an unexpected romance with a 24-year-old Hayes Campbell, the lead singer of August Moon, the hottest boy band on the planet. This is written by Ribbon Lee, Michael Showalter, and Jennifer Westfeldt, and it is directed by Michael Showalter. So Solange is played by Anne Hathaway. Nicholas Galadzine plays Hayes, who is the beautiful boy band member. Anne Hathaway's daughter is played by Ella Rubin. Her character's name is Izzy. And there's a few other people around, but her ex-husband is played by Reed Scott. His name is Daniel. And it's a fun movie. I would say this movie is a lot better than it has any right to be. I think Michael Showalter is a really good director, and it's impressive to see him doing sort of a much more romantic movie than a rom-com, in my opinion. But it seems true and believable, and I think the biggest win for this movie was getting Anne Hathaway on board, having her play a woman who's 40, who is sort of coming out of a bad relationship where her husband cheated on her, and not even being a part of the world where this boy band exists, except for the fact that when her daughter was younger, she was into the band, is really fun. She's believable. She is cautious. The relationship between her and Hayes feels real. I am so impressed with the chemistry. I mean, I've joked for years that there are certain actors that have chemistry with anybody. Anne Hathaway, I feel like, can have chemistry with anyone. And, Hayes is played by Nicholas Galadzine, and he's good looking and charming and charismatic and musical. And I'm just really impressed with the movie they created around this. It could have just been sort of schlocky, have no impact, and could have just been phoned in. And none of this movie is phoned in. I think all the relationship stuff between them is really well done. I think the situation it creates for her daughter and how it impacts Solange's life and her daughter's life, Izzy, are really well handled. I think it's smart. And I was much more impressed with this movie than I expected to be. I don't think it's the greatest film I saw this year, but I think it's a really solid, like 3.5 out of 5-star film. And it's an easy one to recommend. It's a light, fun, airy film that you get a chance to see Anne Hathaway just sort of, normally I would say running circles, but she's not. Everybody in this movie is doing a good job to feel like they're in the same film. And it's just anchored by this amazing woman who can play anything. So a shorter episode for me this week, but look forward to pretty shortly. I'll be putting out my Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes review, and that's coming probably within the next couple days. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you haven't heard it yet, you should go check out the episode of giant robots smashing into other giant robots that I was on. Where I talk about my career and how it's connected to communities. And I even mention and shout out Geek on Film. So thank you, community. I look forward to hearing from you. I'm Robbie the Geek everywhere online, geekonfilm.com on Instagram and Twitter. And thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye. This has been a Geek on Film podcast. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.